Hi guys, this is Edna again. Since we already kind of talked about some of the reasons why people end up in divorce, now we have to talk about now if you're on the 50% of the population that gets divorced, how do you get out of this situation with the least amount of damage? Divorce is one of those things that unfortunately 50% of us will go through. When you go through divorce, you don't realize how hard a divorce is until you actually go through it. So I thought I should share from my own personal experience and from the experience of the people that I've talked to that have gone through divorce. And those that I have not gone through divorce, and how they did, to kind of avoid that. But it's important to know what to expect when you're going through divorce, because it's a major thing. I normally say I relate to divorce, no matter how much you really wanted to get out of this relationship. I relate it to death. It's a death of our relationship. That especially if you have children involved, that is going to be very detrimental in your life. But it's important to learn how to go through divorce and come out of it with some sanity in it. So let's start by kind of introducing the part. When you're going through divorce, there are a few things you have to keep in mind. First of all, when you're going through divorce, it can happen one or two ways. The fast, easier, and better way to go about it is for you and your spouse or ex-spouse now, to decide on the terms of your divorce and both agree on everything and come to actually an agreement where you sign the paperwork, you just send it to the judge, and the judge puts a stamp on it. The judge usually doesn't go against anything that you have agreed upon with your spouse or ex-spouse. So all they'll do is just sign your divorce decree and make sure everything is amicable. So long as it's amicable, they're okay with it. They don't interfere if you agree on the terms of the divorce. Now, it becomes a little bit challenging when you don't agree on terms in a divorce. And this could be just like one or two things, because when you have to realize when you're going through divorce, there are factors in a divorce that most people don't realize that you have to consider. Anything that is in a marriage is community, meaning it's for both spouses, right? Your finances are going to be divided. If you have a house together, that is going to be divided. Your debts are going to be divided. If you have children, time with the children are going to be divided. Child support is going to be determined. Child schedule is going to be determined. Really, the custody of the kids is a joint custody. That's one parent have sole custody. All that has to be decided, and you and your spouse can agree on, let's say, on debts, assets, dividing household stuff, maybe the children's schedule. But when it comes to either child support or having joint custody or no joint custody, you might disagree with that. So you can literally sign off what you've agreed on, and whatever you haven't agreed on, usually the judge will decide. And this is the part that is, I think, a little tricky for most people, because most people will tell you, hey, if you can, try to agree with everything, which is the best case scenario. But if you have a person that is not working well with you, which to me, somebody that is not putting their children, especially, this is, for me, I'm more passionate in situations where children are involved. If you're an adult, you can take care of yourself. I personally think most of the time it's just adults dealing with, unless it's big assets. If it's a house, you can sell the house and divide whatever equity you have in there. Or if you're the spouse that cannot afford to, pay the mortgage, you can have the other spouse pay you off. Those are material stuff that are disposable. Those are not important. That's why I'm not going to waste this time on this video talking about assets, because that's just, to me, it's ridiculous. That's the point where I tell people, grow up, make decisions, and divorce is not fair. There's nothing about divorce that is fair. So just deal with it in a reasonable manner. That's it. But I'm going to talk about a situation where children are involved. When you're going through divorce and kids are involved, it's as a parent, especially for me, I'm going to be passionate because I am the parent that has more time with my children. You have to advocate for your kids. This is not the time to put your head down and say, oh, I'm going to be the nicest person, not to rock the boat, not to, because I don't want to cause any problems later on. Okay, think about that. You're going through divorce. This is probably the worst case scenario in this relationship. You cannot get any worse than this. Whatever disagreements, whatever issues you're going to have later on is going to be minute compared to what you're going through when you're going through divorce. So just put that out of your mind. Put that selfish way of thinking out of your mind and think about the children. Because after this marriage ends, it's going to be what is in the best interest of the children. And that is involving who is going to be financially responsible for the kids, who is going to be spending more time with the children, who is going to be doing the activities with the kids, the day-to-day activities of the children. If you've raised a kid, you know it takes a lot. And if you have a spouse that just wants to walk away scotch-free, this is the time to let the judge decide on that. Because one thing I love about the United States of America, the court system is fair when it comes to child and child protection. When you take a divorce to court, nobody cares about you two adults. Everything that is decided in court is going to be for the best interest of the children. Because if you two adults cannot get it together, the court system will decide what is the best interest for the children. So just keep that in mind. And if you're in a situation like I was in where the spouse thought, oh, he's going to just walk away scotch-free without paying for the child they created in this world, that is when you bump your brakes and throw it into the court system and let the judge decide. Because you create a child into this world, you have to be responsible for taking care of that child. I don't care what situation you're in, you have to take care of that kid. It's not about you anymore. You brought a child to this world, you have to take care of that child. And if you can't decide on how to take care of your child, well, let the court system decide for you at that point. Anyway, I went on a tantrum on that one because it's just a little passion of mine that I have against people that think they just are going to do that. Like I had a friend where the male partner took her to court several times, tried to get out of child support. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you're a grown man that was brought into this world. You were taken care of by your parents until you are now working, earning an income, and you're going above and beyond to try to avoid to take care of your child. Who do you think is going to take care of your child for you? Just think about that. That woman is going to be, you're now really putting your emotional, thinking ahead of your child. It's not about you. It's not about the other spouse that wronged you. It's about the kid. Think of how I'm going to take care of my child to the best ability I can if I'm not in their life. Because if you're not physically there taking care of the child, somebody has to do it. That is time and money. So you have to somehow contribute to this person that you created. So just, be a little more rational when it comes to that. And this goes mostly for men. And when I say men, especially men that come from my culture, that think that, that relationship didn't work. I'm going to just wash my hands, go to the next relationship and start a new life. And, who knows what's going to happen with my kids that were left back in the other relationship. So, and for the females that are going through divorce with this man with that kind of mentality, I want you to put your docile attitude out of the way and think of your child. Because think about it, when this marriage ends, that person, everybody's going to move their own way, right? You're going to move on to another person, the other spouse is going to move on to the other person. Their children kind of left in the middle here that somebody has to raise. And if you don't have support on how to raise these kids, you're going to struggle a little bit. So you need to really think about that. So don't just be like, oh, I just want this divorce out of the way, so I'm just going to sign the paperwork and leave. No. Spend some money, invest in a lawyer, and let the court decide what is the best interest. Because the court has a way of really, really advocating for those kids. So when you're going through divorce, let's say the judge decides, this is the part that people need to know about when they're deciding on child support. Child support is decided, it's a form, they call it Form 14. It's decided on based on your income. So let's say you both make $10,000 a month. They will go plug in $10,000 for the spouse and $10,000 for the other spouse. And then they'll deduct, you'll get credit for if you're paying for health insurance, if you're paying for child care, any extra expenses that you're paying for. But usually the child care and health care is major ones that most states will give you credit for. That is deducted from whatever amount you're going to pay. So if, let's say, the determined child support was $3,000, they'll deduct that, give credit to the person that is paying more, and the other spouse that is not paying can pay the other spouse. So it's gonna be maybe $3,500 getting paid to the spouse that is paying the extra expenses for the kids. And then they'll go down and calculate the number of time you have the children. So if you're a person that has the kids, let's say 3 months out of 12 months in a year, that is about 10% calculated expenditure. So what they'll do is they will take whatever expense you make. Let's say I pay childcare $3,000 a month. They'll take $3,000 times the 9 months that I have the children, divide by 12. Because they like to prorate your childcare throughout the year. Because let's say you decide to let collection agency for child support collect this income. They're not going to know which months you have the child. So they like to prorate that so it's covered for the 12 months. So that's how they calculate child support. Just so keep that in mind. They are not going to care how much debts you're in. Your debt is your debt. I really loved when one judge told one of the other parent that said, "Oh, I have so much debt, I can't pay child support." They told them, "Send the debt to collection. Your child has to eat." That is really the bottom line. They don't care what else is going on in your life. You have to feed your kids, which I think is fair because these kids didn't sign up to be in this situation to begin with. So just keep that in mind. And once child support is determined, you have to decide if you want that money sent to you as a receiving spouse or go through child support collection. That is totally going to be independent depending on what kind of relationship you have with your ex-spouse. And I normally say this is where I'm going to hit the men slightly. This is not a place for ego, because the moment you put your ego into this factor during divorce, you're going to lose big time. Because if you're dealing with a spouse that doesn't really want to deal with your ego anymore, they will send you to child support collection. And let me warn you something about the child support collection. Let's say you pay $2,000 a month for child support. They will deduct $2,000 on a set date. Let's say they set your collection date to be every end of month, on the 30th of every month. Because of February, we'll say on the 15th of every month, they're going to collect $2,000 out of your paycheck. Okay? And you're paying $2,000. You only have one child support session to miss before you go to jail. Because the limit for child support, for you to miss child support, is $2,500. So if you miss up to $2,500 in child support, you will either go to jail, they will suspend your passport, they will find ways of garnishing your wages at all means, and they will take any taxes that you're supposed to receive back or anything. They will take that child support. This is where they implement penalties to the paying parent, because that is the maximum for most states. $2,500, you miss to that point and you're going to suffer consequences for it. So just, especially you're going to be paying really high amounts of child support, you don't have room to play. So just keep that in mind. So this is where you have to question yourself. I'm like, is my ego worth the penalties that I'm going to pay? And this is a lesson for most women that struggle with these men that don't want to pay. Think about it. You can save yourself a lot of trouble. And this, I'm not out for getting this, but when the worst comes to the worst and you have to save your mental sanity, you have to protect your children, make sure they are able to be fed, to eat, wash your hands, send that child support to Child Protective Services. Let the system to deal with the issue. They have a way of dealing with that issue that you don't have to worry about. You could be sitting at home and you get a card or a charge card, whatever they use that, and that money is going to come to you. They will find a way of collecting the money. So long as he works in this country or she works in this country, they will find a way to collect that child support. So just save yourself the trouble. Like I normally say, this is not a man or female. People that have ego in divorce, they suffer the most out of this because they get the worst case scenario. Anyway, that being said, just always also think when you're going through divorce, it's not about, for me anyways, people are so different that I'm not here to judge anybody. But always think about when you're losing in divorce, think about it as, what am I exactly losing? It's not about the assets. It's not about the money you're losing. Because if you ask me, I will pay you all the money I have for time with my children. If you're losing time away from your children, think about it. This is the time that you will never recover. Once those kids grow up and leave the house, become independent adults, they're going to be remembering the moments they spent with their parents. It's not the money that you paid. You could pay millions of dollars into your child's life, but if you didn't take the time to spend and raise those children, trust me, it's worthless. It's valueless. So just keep that in mind when you're going through a divorce, because most people want to kind of stay away and be like, oh, then it's going to be peaceful. I'm going to start my own life and move on. But at the end of it all, yeah, you can move on, all right. But you're going to wake up one day regretting all the time you lost with your children. So I don't think that's worth it for me. So anyway, that for their own on that. Make your decisions, decide what is important for you, and then go for it. And for those that have gone through divorce, are going through divorce, try to think about, put the resentment aside, because this is probably the worst case scenario for anybody, but put your resentment aside. Invest in your future. This marriage has ended, yes. Whatever happens, you can reverse that course. If you've gone through divorce, you finalized, this is the time to kind of move on with your life and invest in yourself. Invest in your mental health, invest in your financial being, invest in being a good person, because at the end of it all, if you're the person raising the children, those children are going to need you. They're going to need you to be the best version of yourself to be able to raise them in this chaotic world we live in. They need peace in this chaos for sure. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully this video helped somebody out there. I know it's a tough one to talk about, but it's a reality we live in. If it's a 50% chance of you getting divorced, why wouldn't you equip yourself with some knowledge on how to either prevent the divorce or get out of the divorce in a more sane way? Definitely, it's not fair. It's not going to be good for anybody, but just try to make the best out of the case scenario. Like I say, make lemonade out of lemons. And that's it for me today. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, and live your best life. Enjoy life. Life is short. We are just here for a season. It's just a journey. It's going to end someday. And for that, be happy, be gracious, be grateful, and God bless.